person to see her was her coworker, a state trooper. He said she left after their shift, but something wasn't right. Days passed. The police searched everywhere. Her family begged for answers. But then something shocking happened. A body was found. It was her. Dead. Murdered. And soon the truth started coming out. The investigation revealed something dark. A secret affair. Was betrayal. And the person responsible? The same man who worked beside her every single day. A state trooper. A man sworn to protect and serve. But instead, he killed her to protect his own secrets. What happened that night? Why did he do it? And how did he almost get away with murder? This is the story of a crime that shocked everyone. And the truth is even worse than anyone expected. The last time she was seen alive was after her shift. She had been working late just like always. She was dedicated to her job. She took pride in it. Being a state trooper wasn't easy, but she was good at it. Her coworkers respected her. They saw her as strong, brave, and professional. But they didn't know everything. She had a secret that could ruin her career, a secret that could destroy lives. She was having an affair, and not with just anyone, with another state trooper, a man who was already married, a man who had a lot to lose. At first, it was just glances across the station, then small conversations, then long talks after work. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. They got too close. They crossed the line. And once they did, there was no going back. But she was starting to regret it. She knew it was wrong. She wanted to end it. But he didn't. He couldn't. Because if she left him, she could ruin him. She could expose everything. And he wasn't going to let that happen. That night, she left work like normal. She told a friend she had something to do. Something important. But she never made it home. Her family knew something was wrong when she didn't answer her phone. She always answered. She always checked in. But now, silence. They called the police. They started searching. Her car was still in the parking lot. Locked. Nothing inside. No signs of struggle. Her phone? Gone. Her uniform? Still neatly folded at the station just like she left it. It was like she had vanished. At first, people thought maybe she had run away. Maybe she needed time to herself. Maybe she was stressed. But her family knew better. She would never just disappear. Days passed. The police searched. Her friends begged for answers. But there was nothing. Then, a break in the case. A body was found. In the woods. Hidden under leaves. It was her. Bruises on her body. Marks around her neck. Signs of a struggle. She had been murdered. And the evidence pointed to only one person. Her coworker. The man she had been seeing. The man she had tried to leave. He had been the last person to see her. He had no alibi. He had been acting strange. And then police found something shocking. His phone records showed something disturbing. He had called her that night. Multiple times. Then his phone had been turned off for hours. When it was turned back on, he called someone else. His wife. But why? Was he trying to cover his tracks? Police started digging deeper. They looked at security cameras. They checked his car. And then they found something. A small piece of evidence that changed everything. Blood. Her blood. Inside his car. Now he had no way out. But he had an explanation. He said it was an accident. He said they met that night, but they argued. She got angry. She fell. She hit her head. He panicked. He didn't know what to do. So he hid the body. But the autopsy told a different story. She didn't just fall. She had been strangled. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. And now he had to face the truth. A state trooper. A man who was supposed to protect. A man who had sworn to uphold the law. But instead he became a killer. All because of a secret he didn't want anyone to know. A secret that cost a woman her life. News spread fast. A fellow officer. A trusted state trooper. A man who worked side by side with law enforcement every day, now the prime suspect in a murder. People were in shock. How could this happen? How could someone who swore to protect and serve do something so evil? His coworkers were stunned. Some refused to believe it. Others started to see the cracks. The way he had been acting. The way he had been avoiding questions. The nervousness in his voice when someone asked about her. Then more evidence came in. Security cameras from a nearby gas station showed his car parked on the side of the road at the time of her disappearance. The footage showed something chilling. A shadowy figure opening the passenger door. A person struggling. Then nothing. And when investigators checked his car again, they found more. Fibers from her uniform. Traces of dirt matching the area where she was found. A small, broken piece of her bracelet wedged between the seats. It was clear. She had been in his car. That night. The same night she went missing. And now there was no doubt. He had lied. The case moved fast. Detectives started piecing together what really happened. The truth was worse than anyone imagined. That night, she had agreed to meet him one last time. She wanted to end things for good. She wanted to move on. But he didn't. They met in a quiet parking lot, away from cameras. Away from people. She told him it was over. She told him she couldn't keep lying. And that's when everything changed. He snapped. He begged her not to go. She refused. He got angry. She tried to leave. But he grabbed her. She fought back. She screamed. But no one was there to hear her. And then he did something unforgivable. He wrapped his hands around her neck. He squeezed. Harder and harder. Until she stopped moving. Then silence. It was over. She was gone. And now he had a problem. A dead body. A crime he couldn't undo. And a career that would be destroyed if anyone found out. So he made a plan. He put her in his car. Drove for miles looking for the perfect spot. A place no one would find her. The woods. He dragged her body deep inside. Covered her with leaves. Wiped his hands. Looked around. Then left. Back to his life. Back to his home. Back to his wife. Like nothing had happened. But no matter how hard he tried to hide it, the truth always comes out. The moment police confronted him with the evidence, he broke. His story changed again. Now he said he never meant to hurt her. It was an argument. Got out of hand. He panicked. But the jury didn't believe him. The trial was brutal. Her family sat in the courtroom listening to every detail. The lies. The betrayal. The way she was killed. And then the verdict. Guilty. The man who once carried a badge. Who once enforced the law. Now sentenced to life in prison. No more uniform. No more power. No more freedom. Justice had been served. But it didn't bring her back. She was still gone. A young woman with dreams. A future. A life ahead of her, stolen in a moment of selfishness and rage. All because he couldn't let go. And now he would spend the rest of his life remembering what he did. Alone. Behind bars. Where he belonged. The trial ended, but the pain did not. Her family would never be the same again. Her parents sat in the courtroom, frozen in grief. Her mother held a picture of her daughter in her hands, fingers gripping the edges like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Her father stared straight ahead, his face empty, his heart broken. The judge's words echoed through the courtroom. Life in prison without parole. Some people felt relief. Justice had been served. The man responsible would never walk free again. But for her family, justice didn't mean healing. It didn't bring her back. It didn't erase the pain of knowing how she died, of knowing her last moments were filled with fear. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. Cameras flashed. Microphones were pushed forward. "Do you have anything to say?" Her mother spoke, voice shaking. She didn't deserve this. Her father stood beside her, silent, his hands clenched into fists. There were no words to describe the pain of losing a child this way. The reporters turned to the other side of the courtroom, where his wife was standing. She had been quiet during the trial. She never spoke to the media. She never showed emotion. But now, as she walked out, her face was pale, her eyes distant. Someone asked, "Did you know about the affair?" She didn't answer. She just kept walking. Because the truth was, she hadn't known. She had believed in her husband. Trusted him. She thought they had a good life, a good marriage. But it was all a lie. Now her life was shattered too. She had spent years building a future with a man she never really knew. And now she was left to pick up the pieces. She wasn't the only one. His colleagues, the other state troopers, were struggling too. They had worked beside him for years. They had trusted him. They had never suspected anything. But now, every memory of him was tainted. Every time they looked at an old case, they wondered, was he always like this? Had they missed the signs? Could they have stopped him? Some felt guilty. Some felt angry. Some just wanted to forget. But no one could. The headlines wouldn't let them. State trooper turns killer. Betrayal behind the badge. The affair that led to murder. The story spread everywhere. News channels ran the details over and over. People whispered about it in coffee shops, in break rooms, in living rooms. And no one could understand it. Why would he throw everything away? Why would he kill her? Why not just walk away? The questions had no answers. The only person who truly knew was sitting in a prison cell, staring at the walls. And outside those walls, the world moved on. Her family tried to rebuild their lives. Her friends tried to remember her not for how she died, but for how she lived. They shared stories about her. Stories of her kindness, her laughter, her dreams. She wanted to make a difference. She always stood up for what was right. She didn't deserve this. Because in the end, that's what mattered. Not the man who took her life, but the life she lived before he did. And no matter how many years passed, her story would never be forgotten. Because some betrayals are too big. Some losses are too deep. Some crimes leave scars that never fade. And this was one of them. Ours passed, but the pain remained. Her name was still spoken in hushed voices. Her face still printed on memorial posters. Her story still shared as a warning. Her parents visited her grave every week. They would sit there for hours talking to her like she could still hear them. Her mother always brought fresh flowers. Her father never said much, he just sat, staring at her name on the headstone, trying to make peace with something that would never feel right. Her friends struggled too. They tried to move on, but every time they saw a state trooper in uniform, it brought them back to that night. The betrayal, the horror, the loss. Some of them left the force. They couldn't wear the same badge anymore, knowing that someone they trusted had used it as a shield to hide his crime. And his name? It became something people refused to say. The state police department never spoke about him again. His badge number was erased from records. His uniform was destroyed. His name was wiped from every file, every plaque, every photograph. It was like he had never existed. But he had. And the damage he caused would never go away. Inside prison, he wasn't a state trooper anymore. He wasn't respected. He wasn't feared. He was just another inmate. Another man in an orange jumpsuit, waiting out a sentence that would never end. At first, he tried to act like he didn't care. He refused interviews. He ignored letters. He kept to himself. But the silence got to him. The long days. The empty nights. The realization that this was it. There was no escape. No career. No power. No life outside those walls. He had thrown it all away. And for what? An affair? A secret? A moment of rage? It wasn't worth it. He knew that now. But it was too late. The world outside kept moving. His wife divorced him. His children changed their last names. His former colleagues never visited. He was alone. And every night when he closed his eyes, he saw her face. The last moment. The struggle. The fear in her eyes. It haunted him. And maybe, in the end, that was the real punishment. Because long after the trial ended, long after the news stopped reporting on the case, long after people stopped whispering about what he had done, she still lived in his mind. And she always would. Because some crimes can't be forgotten. Some mistakes can't be undone. And some ghosts never let go. The years dragged on. The world outside changed. New officers joined the force. New cases filled the news. People moved on. But for the people who loved her, time did not heal. It only stretched the pain longer. Her mother's hair turned gray too soon. Her father's hands, once strong, shook when he held her picture. Their home was filled with silence, except for the quiet sobs that escaped in the middle of the night. Every year, on the anniversary of her death, they lit a candle in her honor. They visited the cemetery. They ran their fingers over the cold stone, whispering the words they never got to say. I miss you. I love you. I'm sorry we couldn't protect you. The police department held a memorial for her every year. Officers lined up, standing in silence, wearing black bands over their badges. But no matter how many speeches were given, how many wreaths were laid, one thing could never be erased: the betrayal. A fellow officer had done this. One of their own had murdered one of their best. And the scars from that truth never faded. For those who had known her personally, the pain never dulled. The nightmares never stopped. Some officers quit the force, unable to bear the weight of it. Others stayed, but they were different. Harder. Less trusting. The job changed for them that day. And him? The man who took her life. Prison became his world. At first, he thought he could survive it. He kept his head down. He avoided trouble. He ignored the stares, the whispers, the threats. But it didn't take long for the other inmates to find out who he was. A cop. A killer. A man who took an innocent life, not in the heat of duty but out of selfishness. And in prison there is no mercy for men like that. They made him suffer. Not just with fists but with words. Every day he was reminded of what he had done. Every night he lay awake knowing that he was hated, despised, seen as nothing more than a coward who couldn't face the truth. He tried to write letters. To his ex-wife. To his children. To his old colleagues. No one answered. He had been erased from their lives just like he had erased hers. He had no visitors. No future. No purpose. Only regret. And it ate him alive. He thought about the moment he took her life over and over again. How it happened. How it could have been different. If he had just let her go. If he had just walked away. If he had just accepted the truth instead of trying to control it. But he didn't. And now there was no way to fix it. And that was his reality. A small, cold cell. A lifetime of guilt. The knowledge that outside these walls, the world was still moving without him. And in that world, her memory lived on. People still spoke her name. They still told her story. Not just as a tragedy but as a warning. Because some secrets are deadly. Some betrayals have no forgiveness. And some choices can never be undone. And he was living proof of that. Every single day. For the rest of his life.